All right, the markets are having a bit of a drawdown right now, and this is something we sort of expected from our general market update yesterday. So here are some few things we covered. First, you know this chart, yes? If you've been following this page religiously, then you understand everything here. I'm not just talking about the Bitcoin chart, I'm talking about the charting of the Bitcoin chart. So if you do not understand, then fix that problem by liking and following here. That way you are always in the know when the markets are about to rally or dump. Now, zoomed in here, we are all in the know about the macro 2.618 and its weekly close, so no need to explain that anymore. Yesterday, we covered this CME gap right here, which is between somewhere around 105.7 to 105.1. CME gaps don't always get filled. Yes, this is something we already know, but from the looks of it, which we will cover in the next subsequent seconds, this thing will most likely get filled. The next thing we covered was USDT dominance, and what we were suggesting here is that this thing was going to move to the upside and come to this level right here before potentially moving to the downside. We did suggest that as it moves up to this level right here, we will be tracking that with a CME gap. So if it goes here and the CME gap gets filled, then that will potentially be the bottom for crypto. However, the CME gap is not yet filled, so we are on the idea that this thing could retrace back to the downside as it's currently doing right now, but it could still potentially move back up. Now, this is the zoomed in chart for USDT dominance on the 1 hourly time frame, by the way. So let's zoom out. So on the zoomed out version, you can see it more clearly, yeah? The general thesis here is that USDT dominance moved down to the 1.618 right here. And after the 1.618, what comes next? The 0.786. So the ideal movement for this thing is that it comes to the 1.618, goes to 0.786 before then going to the 2.618. That movement to the 2.618 will take BTC to north of 116k. However, you still have this 0.786 right here, which is a potential topping out zone for USDT dominance on the 1 hourly time frame. By the way, this is not the weekly, it's the 1 hourly. So this might actually happen in the next couple of days. Going to BTC, which is supposed to be the literal opposite of USDT dominance, we can see the same formation. We see that BTC in this whole rally went up to the 1.618 right here. So after this, the ideal move, which is, I say ideal because it does not always happen like that, the ideal move is that BTC comes down to the 0.786 right here. This means that BTC comes back to somewhere around 105. Remember that 105 is where the CME gap is, so this adds to the confluence on the idea that BTC could come down to that zone. However, if we used this in isolation, then we would not know if it could be the bottom, because sometimes the CME gap may get filled and it continues to the downside. So how do we know if price could potentially reverse from here and continue our nice uptrend? So we use Fibonacci to get that data. So this white line that you see like so is showing us the ideal or general movement, yeah? The green line, the dotted green line that you see here is trying to describe this particular price movement right here. And as we narrow down our focus to that zone, we then see that BTC came into the 1.618 right here, which means that BTC could potentially bounce back into the 108k zone here before moving to the downside. The 2.618 of this particular price movement is somewhere around 104.9, so giving us the 3 FIB right here at about 104k, so exactly 104k. This therefore tells us that our potential bottoming out zone for any type of price move to the downside will be between 105 to 104. After that, we will have to reanalyze, but the general price movement, which is the original white line right here, will be suggesting somewhere around 116k for our next top of all of this. Note that this is all zoomed in. When we zoom out, we come back to this chart that is actually telling us some crazy numbers, but all of that we just talked about was zoomed in. So that is our Bitcoin update, folks. When we get more data, we will be sure to update. Make sure to like and follow here for more content like this. But until the next one, stay safe.